Listen, this was a disappointing quiz. I expected a lot better, not even a little bit better, a lot better. So let's go through this, and wherever you made a mistake, I suggest you put a little asterisk on your paper and write down what you did wrong, and then use the last two quizzes, yesterday's quiz and today's quiz, to study for tomorrow's quiz. Because, frankly, I thought that a lot of the mistakes were beneath you, and I thought you were better than those. So, like yesterday, the first part of this we did really well on, so I'm not worried about the first part. God bless. Maximums and minimums. We said yesterday they never occur at the beginning or end. Remember that? Right? So, -8 and +8 values for x are never part of the graph because they're the endpoints. It's only the ones in between. Now, every bottom and every top is a relative maximum and minimum. So I drew that on the graph and wrote relative maximums and minimums. The absolute is the highest of the high, and the minimum, or I should say the absolute max is the highest of the high, and the absolute min is the lowest of the low. So in terms of a maximum, there's only one maximum. It's 1. Now, some people put down the x values for this. No, you put down, you put down the y values. A maximum or a minimum are always going to be the y values. It is the output. If this was a ball that was bouncing, would I say the absolute maximum was -1? Does that accurately represent the height? No. So when it comes to a maximum or a minimum, it's only the y value at that point that you want to put down. So the relative and absolute max is 1. And then I have 2 relative minimums, but this one is lower than the other one, so it's the more minimum of the minimums, if you will, and that is at -5. So here's my relative max, 1, my relative minimums, there are 2 of them, -1 and -5. These are the x values when they occur. Then the absolutes is the highest of the high and the lowest of the low, 1 and -5. As far as the x-intercepts go, some people forgot 8. 8 isn't important. It's also where it crosses the axis, or touches the axis. The y-intercept is -5 down there. And as far as increasing and decreasing goes, we're still having a little bit of a problem with this. Everybody's looking, I hope. Do you see how, like, if this was a water slide, you would be going down? Mm-hmm. That's decreasing when you go down. This is what? Increasing. Now I am decreasing. Now I am increasing. So I have to pick those intervals. Now listen, I only put 2 intervals here because they both work. You don't need 2 intervals on your paper. It says put 1 interval, not all intervals. I'm doing this for teaching purposes. You can put down any piece over which it's either increasing, which means going up, or decreasing, which means going down. Okay? Are there any questions? Yes?
You said that -8 at -8 as an x?
As an x-intercept.
Yeah, as an x-intercept.
No, it's +8. It's not -8.
No, I mean, I was talking about the one on my left. I was saying when you're increasing and decreasing, when you say decreasing, are you decreasing all the way till one of the relative minimums, or do you stop at?
You stop where it turns and starts to go up again.
So, but specifically for that one, would it be what do you express it as a y or an x?
X. Anytime you're doing an interval over which it's increasing or decreasing, it's over the x value. Only maximums and minimums are over y values. Okay. All right. So, and the other one is this. Listen, when I see kids, when I see kids hand in their paper and put zeros here, we were clear yesterday that you never include a zero on that. To me, that means you did not prepare. You should have walked in the room knowing that that was one thing you would not possibly do wrong. Okay, so here we have our quiz gone over. This is being recorded, so you can always check it at home tonight if it's giving you any difficulties. You can always check yesterday's for any difficulties. But make sure you go over those two so that you don't repeat those mistakes tomorrow. Okay? Any questions? Okay, last night's homework. Let's check the bottom of that page. It's a very important question to be able to get right here. If you can get this question right, then you can do any elimination question that we could possibly give you. And if you can't do it right, then we need to straighten it out right now so that I don't have to worry about whether or not you can do the fundamentals. Okay? Take a look, see what you got. Number 8 is the question that is the fundamental for elimination. Question 7 is a bit of a review question. Okay, any questions? Yeah.
Is that a -3 on the side?
On the side. Yes. Now, it doesn't matter which one's negative. You could do the top or the bottom. But do you see how in the equation they have the same signs here? Both positive, both positive?
Yeah.
To add them up, I need to get the signs opposite. So one of them has to be negative. I don't care if the top one's negative or the bottom one's negative. I can't have both. As long as they're opposites, then when I add them up, they'll wipe each other out.
Can you keep that up for a little bit?
Little bit might be pushing it, but for another 20 seconds or so. All right. Are there any other questions about this one here? Any other questions? Okay. And remember, you can always go home, pop the video up, and when you pop the video up, you can leave this on the screen as long as you want to leave it on for. Personally, if I were you, like if I got this question wrong on my homework, I would be redoing it and then looking at the video to see if I got it right. Okay, this guy. I got a little bit sloppy in my head. This was a very tricky question because it's a word problem. And if you notice, it doesn't say anything in here like one number is 5 more than another, or Mary is 1 less than twice the age of her father. There's nothing like that. So when we have nothing like that, we have to use different variables for the two numbers. I let the first one be x, and I let the second one be y. Can we get the Rubik's Cube sticker things away? And then what it says is, find the numbers such that the first one plus 3 times the second one is 5. So x plus 3y is 5. Then it says twice the first plus the second is 8. Now, once I write those two equations, it's just like the one I did a minute ago with the a's and b's. I have to get a common number. In this case, I chose to get the x's alike, so I multiplied the top one by -2. You could have chosen to get the bottom one, to get the y's alike, and then you would have multiplied the bottom by -3. Either way works. You get the same answer. That's the beauty of this. And then once I do it, you can start, here's I distribute the -2. Here, adding them up, the x's go die, -5y is -2. So dividing them, y is 2/5. There is no guarantee that they'll work out to be pretty every time. Usually do, but no guarantee. And then 2x plus y is 8. I plug in the 2/5, I subtract it. First time I did it, I had a brain cramp, God bless, and I thought it was 4 3/5. It was 7 3/5. Dividing that by 2. Now, you might say to yourself, man, that looks really ugly and really hard. And back in the days before we let you use a calculator, I would have agreed with you. But now that you're allowed to use a calculator, you just do 7 3/5, or you can make it a decimal, 7.6 divided by 2, and that gives you 3.8, and you do math, enter, enter. And that gives you the fraction equivalent, okay? Again, if you had difficulty with this, and I think that the the last question on the previous page and the last question on this page are not easy. So if you struggled with it, I understand that. But that's why we call this work. So you go home tonight and you work at it until you're better at it, so that you'll be all set. Remember, we have a test next Friday. Tomorrow during class, we have a group quiz. You're gonna come in, there's no lesson to be taught. You're going to take the third in a series of quizzes, and then I'm going to give you a group quiz where you can work with people. And it's just kind of like a review sheet of old Regents questions, so that you can make sure that you're gonna do well on them. So you're actually gonna get 2 quiz grades tomorrow. You're gonna get the 1 quiz grade as the third one in this series, and then the group quiz. Yes?
What's your website again?
MrLindquistMath.com. Okay, any questions? All right, so now we go to today's sheet. So one of the things that we're trying to do is show you that it is possible to now use 2 variables to solve a system of equations. And if you notice here, everything starts talking about 2. It says Pam has 2 part-time jobs, cashier and tutor. 1 week she works 30 hours and made $268. How much does she get? And the first couple times you see this, it's a little bit weird. But once you start getting the idea down pat, it's not hard. It's just a little bit weird. There's very subtle things here. So the 2 jobs are going to be cashier and tutor. So I'm going to let C be cashier and T be tutor. That makes sense, right? Okay. Makes $8 an hour as a cashier, so 8C. And then she makes 12 as a tutor. Altogether, she makes $268. So $8 for every hour she was a cashier, $12 for every hour she was a tutor, and altogether that week she made $268. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. There's another equation in here, and it's very subtle. Very, very subtle. It's not obvious. To me, that one's pretty obvious. What's the other equation you can write about the hours spent as a cashier and the hours spent as a tutor? It's very subtle. Emma?
I'm not sure, but I have a feeling it has something to do with 30 hours.
Yeah, it definitely has something to do with 30 hours. What do you know about the hours spent as a cashier and the hours spent as a tutor?
8C plus 12T equals 30.
No, just C plus T equals 30.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because it doesn't matter what you get paid. This is just the hours that you work. So the first one is 8C plus 12T is 268. The second one is cashier plus tutor is 30. Now, can you see that once you have these written, it's a lot easier? Right? The hard part is seeing the 2 equations. Now, I like to always check things off. So the cashier in 8, I could check that off. Tutor in 12, I could check that off, and the 268. That's all part of the first equation. It's the second equation that's very difficult to see. And I love the way Emma worded it before. She goes, you know, I'm not sure, but it has something to do with the 30. The way you knew it had something to do with the 30 is we hadn't used it yet. So then you got to keep asking yourself, well, what does cashier hours and tutor hours have to do with 30? And the answer is that if you combine them, you get the total hours worked, which is 30. Now, I'm just going to start this. I'm not going to finish it. So the top one is 8C plus 12T is 268. The bottom one is negative 8C minus 8T is negative 240. Die. 4T is 28. And then I divide by 4. T is 7. I can actually finish it. It's easy enough. They all add up to 30. So C plus T is 30. 7 plus T is 30. A little quickly there. T is 23. So she works 23 hours as a tutor, cashier, I'm sorry. Wait, oh, I put this in for T. These should be reversed. Yo muy malo. This is C equals 23. Yes?
Why did you subtract 240 from 260?
Wait, that doesn't make any T's.
I added them, I distributed a -8 to the 30, that's -240, and I add it. They add up to nothing, this adds up to 4t, this adds up to 28. Okay, Chloe?
Where did you get the negative?
Oh, I wanted to match up either variable, I thought it was easiest to match up the c's, since this is positive 8 c's. I need to be the opposite, so I chose -8. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
How come some other equations you did it to both the top and
Oh,
bottom?
really easy. I have to match them up. Sometimes you have to do it to both. If the numbers are what you call relatively prime, that's a fancy term for they don't divide into each other. So if I have a 5 and a 3, I have to make 15, and I have to change both to get to 15. If one of them's an 8 and one of them's a 1, well, I already got the 8. So I only need to do it to one of them.
So they have to be the same number, yet
Exactly.
different signs?
Yeah, you definitely prefer different signs. You don't have to, but it's much easier if you do. Otherwise, you end up subtracting, and that's where kids make mistakes. Okay, Spencer, quickly?
I got a different answer.
And,
Well, I got that she spent 13 hours tutoring and 14 hours cashiering. I'm not sure if that's.
well, 13 and 14 doesn't add up to 28.
Okay.
Or
that
30,
makes
I'm
sense.
sorry, so that can't be. All right. Let's go to the next one down here and try to set it up together. Pam has 2 part-time jobs. At one job, she's a cashier, makes 8 an hour. Oh, it's the same question.
Yeah, what is the same question?
It's
Okay.
not like that on our paper though, it says Jacob and Zachary go to the movie theater.
Oh, okay, what does it say on your paper? Read it to me.
Jacob and Zachary go to the movie theater and purchase refreshments for their friends. Jacob spends a total of $18.25 on 2 bags of popcorn and 3 drinks.
Oh, 2 popcorn plus 3 drinks is $18.25. That's easy, right? Everybody, whoo, hi, you with me here? 2 popcorns, 3 drinks, $18.25, piece of cake. Keep going.
Zachary spends a total of $27.50 for 4 bags of popcorn and 2 drinks.
Okay, 4 bags of popcorn plus 2 drinks. Is this the elimination technique or is it substitution?
Elimination.
Elimination. Janelle, how would you get rid of one of the variables?
You would multiply the top one by 2,
Or better yet, -2,
negative.
right? That would work to get rid of the p's. But couldn't we, if we wanted to, it's more work, but couldn't we get rid of the d's?
Yeah.
What would I multiply the top one by?
By 2.
2 or -2, and the bottom one? 3 or -3, whatever makes them opposites. You wouldn't want to do both negative, but one of them has to be
You
negative.
multiplied them.
So, one sec, that would give me both 6 D's, one of them negative. And this one, if I multiply by -2, would give me a -4P and a +4P. Both ways work. There's, no one is better than the other. Am I good, am I right to say that once you were to take that step, then you can handle it from there? Right, once you get the same amount of each, you can take it from there? Okay, all right, so, when it comes to the rest of today's sheet, you're just gonna do all the rest of the questions. Don't stop in the middle like I just did, I'm comfortable that you can do that. The big thing today was setting them up, okay? Tomorrow is a group quiz, you will see substitution on it, you will see questions like this, you will see word problems, you will see graphing. It's a little bit of everything, I think there's a total of 6 or 7 questions on the group quiz, all right? All right.
Wait, when you multiply both of them by -2, wouldn't you get a negative number?
Well, this is gonna be negative, but this will be negative, so when you add them up, you're gonna get negative d's equals a negative, and when you divide it, it's multiple positive. Make sense? Okay.
No, we did, because we
All right.
still don't even know, but.
Everybody's very quiet today.
After homework answers, it says check, after check the website,